Hello and welcome back everyone to a new episode of Loremaster Leveling, here with me, SneakyBot, on our rogue Tefrona. We are still in Stranglephone, trying to do some of the troll quests as well as the Nesingwary expedition ones. We are currently in Bambala, more specifically, where we are doing the Zandalari quest regarding the rise of Zul'Gurub, something that they themselves initiated and then realized, oops, this is a bad idea. Last episode we accidentally also, this wasn't the Zandalari's fault but our fault this time, we accidentally reanimated Warlord Mandakir and had to give him our cute raptor hatchling. So we will see if we can't get that one back, but let's see what we can't find out here regarding the resurgence of the Gurubashi. Chasing Yeniku's fate. Zanzil the Outcast. If Yeniku is held by that troll, a vile and powerful witch doctor, then I fear that only a faint hope remains. Faint and tiny as the smallest insect. Fortunately, I have some suspicions of my own. Suspicions which may lead to Yeniku's salvation. So Yeniku was a troll that went missing and that we've been trying to locate for quite some time. The Mind's Eye is held by an orc mage. An ogre mage. Orcs are not mages. Well, now they can be, I think, but they don't used to be. Just to the south, his name is Myzoth. I know him from when the Darkspears dwelt in Stranglephone. He is vicious and his magic is strong. And if he has the Mind's Eye, then his magic will be stronger still. You must face Myzoth and wrest from him the Mind's Eye. It is a perilous task, but it is the only hope we have of saving Yeniku. Alright? Later, indeed. But we want to kill these tigers first. So Yeniku will have to wait. Sorry. Alright. So yeah, still in the expansion hype. I mean, how could I not be? This is still recorded on the same day as a couple of other episodes before it. But yeah, not got really a specific topic to talk about today, apart from we need to talk a bit more regarding Kultiras. So for those of you who do not know, and I originally planned to do this actually when we were playing our Eastern Kingdom character, but since we're not going to do that, I might as well do it here, is before the formation of the Grand Alliance, you had all these disparate and warring human kingdoms in the north, and one of them was Kultiras, another of them was Lordaeron, you had Arathi, you had Arathor, you had Gilneas, did I forget? You had Stromgarde. Yeah, I think I had most of them there, probably forgot one or two. And what happened during that time basically was that the human kingdoms allied themselves with the elves, but in order to survive against the Amani forest trolls that you can also find in the Arathi Highlands, but mostly in the Elven lands, they needed to band together, and not all of them really banded together, but most of them did under Trollbane. I wanted to say Danath Trollbane, but that is only his descendant. I think his name was Arathor Trollbane because he gave the Arathi kingdom its name, who basically drove out all the trolls from the north, from the northern human kingdoms, so that they only could settle in the woods of Keltalas. And those trolls that he drove out of there were the Amani. But enough of that. We wanted to focus on Kultiras. So Kultiras was the maritime kingdom, you could say. So they were pirates and very skilled navigators. Jaina's father was Admiral Proudmoore, who became a little bit cuckoo after he fled, or after he survived the Orcish invasion and then fled. We had to kill him in Warcraft 3, I think, yeah, in his base in Theramore. Anyway, Kultiras were the maritime nations, and it's going to be interesting to see Jaina now, when she's more or less following a bit more closely in her father's footsteps, having to go back to Kultiras and having the Alliance accept another of those ancient human kingdoms that still survive into the Alliance, so the Kultirasi in this case, while also trying to go for the invasion of Lordaeron and re-establishing the kingdom of Lordaeron, and seeing if we will get a renewed focus on trying to establish these ancient human kingdoms in these lands that were devastated, with the kingdoms left in ruins, specifically Stromgarde, Arathi. It's all ruins. The Syndicate ran the place basically, and seeing if the next expansion basically changes some of that and trying to make us re-establish those. That's one of the things that I'm a bit scared about regarding the Warfronts, is that if they are actually in the world, like not in instances but in the actual world, which I hope they are, will this mean that if we have a Warfront in, say, the Arathi Highlands trying to re-establish the Stromgarde base, what happens to the Syndicate? I mean, they're already mostly gone because of what happened in Cataclysm, but they're still there. There's issues that are unresolved regarding that. Okay, kill 5 Elder Panthers. And I wouldn't want the Warfronts, that amazing resurgence of the war between the Horde and the Alliance, basically pushing the NPC conflicts that we have in this these zones between the major factions and the smaller neutral factions to be pushed aside, where we basically say, well, the Syndicate kind of got caught between the Horde and the Alliance and we squashed them and now we're fighting only the Horde. That would kind of make the entire zone sort of devoid of life and fun. So I hope it's something much more in the area of, oh, we need to kill jungle stalkers as well, of let's go into that zone, try and recruit the Syndicate with the promise of actually letting them run Stromgarde or Arathi or something like that. Or in terms of the Horde, for instance, where they go and say, okay, we've got the this, what's a good example? I'm trying to think of a good example here, where we have a ancient Horde race basically, and a conflict that blossomed up due to that. I mean, the Grim Totem would be one, but I doubt that Bane will make friends with them. They killed his father, and they've kind of been labeled the enemy anyway since they fight with the Alliance. The Alliance might make overtures to them again and say, hey, you can get some of this land if you fight for us, but I doubt that that would be the case either, because I can't see the Grim Totem joining the Alliance. So, interesting. But yeah, trying to think of a Horde equivalent of this. Could be something like here, where you have the Blood Skulls and the Skull Splitters. The Horde are trying to recruit them into the Horde in exchange for them basically running the Warfront in Stranglethorn Vale here for them. Something like that. That, I think, could be a good compromise. Because if it's just Horde versus Alliance, that could get boring pretty quickly. Or at least, like, what happens with the quests here? Are they completely, like, irrelevant to the Warfront effort? I'd like them to be, you know, tied up with that as much as possible. But I am super happy that we are sort of not doing the whole interstellar space travel thing that Legion turned into. I mean, we will have to do that anyway, because the Void is the new big enemy, and as much as that is not really my thing, I liked imagining the old gods being as their own entities, separate from the Void Lords. So for those of you who do not know, the old gods are basically, if the Naru are the the opposition to the void. The old gods are like the opposition to the pantheon, and the pantheon was created by the Naru to watch over worlds and make them flourish and blah blah blah. And the old gods are the opposite. They're there to infest old worlds and destroy them, and if they can manage to infest a titan, like corrupt him when he's still young, then the entire creation will basically blow up. So Void Lords will definitely be a thing, but interstellar travel in WoW, this whole sci-fi element to it, I like to have it in the background, not the foreground. It's kind of like, it was super nice when we went to Outland, and that was space travel. Whole Drane thing is space travel, but it's kind of couched in fantasy terms, and that made it more palatable to me, which I enjoyed more. But there is no way around it. We will get some space travel at some point. I'm just happy I can deal with, you know, Azerothian things, old human kingdoms, troll empires, Ajara. Finally we get to do something more with Ajara. Hopefully Raytheon makes a comeback. So yeah, we're completely jumping to different topics here, but this is just me talking to you anyway, so nobody can really, you know, say, hey, stop, stick to your topic. So yeah, I'm happy that we're going to do things with Ajara. She's been in the shadows there for quite enough, and I want to know what's going on there, especially due to her connection to one of my favorite times in the Warcraft lore, which is the War of the Ancients. And we have Raytheon, which is one of the more intriguing newer additions to the lore. It's basically been following us around every expansion since Cataclysm, and it's scary because he knows what we are doing, but we don't know what he's doing and where he is or what he plans to do. I mean, at the end of Legion, we basically see the lifeblood of Azeroth seeping out through the wound in Silithus, and I mean, we need to close it, probably by sacrificing our artifacts, weapons or something like that, minus Shalamain, since Anduin clearly is wielding that in the cinematic. But what happens if some entities, or even just one entity, say Raytheon, gets there and empowers his uncorrupted black draconic blood in the lifeblood of a titan? Is he then going to, like, resurrect the black dragonflight by himself, and we have to deal with them? If we have to deal with them, are they allies or enemies? He's firmly positioned them as neutral, but let's remember, Ajara, Ysera, Malygos, all of Nosdormu especially, all of the dragonflights have always been neutral to mortal affairs. As long as they don't endanger the entire creation, they are always neutral to mortal affairs. So Raytheon being neutral isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just, he's off the black dragonflight and he acts a bit mysteriously, which always sends alarm bells ringing down my spine, at least, because black dragonflights were never good people. I mean, now Tharion is probably one of my favorite vanilla WoW lore pieces in terms of raid, because that kind of happened in the shadows as well, and then it blossomed up into this beautiful conflict and a nice raid and lots of dungeons. And I hope that Ajara and Raytheon, not necessarily in a team, but wow, it would be cool if that were a team, blossoms up into a similar conflict. By the way, interesting vanilla lore point. This leatherworking trainer, I'm still super happy that he is here, because he was the only way you could become tribal spec leatherworker. So for those of you who do not remember anymore or did not know to begin with, the few of you that there are, because I do think that even newer WoW players know about this, professions used to have specializations. So once you reached expert, you had to choose a specialization, and leatherworking had 3. You had tribal, you had elemental, and then you had one other that I don't know the name of. You see that I'm doing this on the top of my head. I haven't like prepared this. It was just something I like saw in the world here. So you had 3, of which I only remember 1. 2. And the tribal guy was here, so you had to travel here and talk to him and do some quests to him, so he would actually teach you the tribal specializations, and that gave you access to different recipes, high level gear and stuff like that. Elemental one actually took you to Ajara, and you had to do some stuff with the blue dragonflight, which was nice. I was an elemental leather worker back in the day. That's why I know about this. But yeah, I think it's still super nice that King Bangladesh, we will have to kill him later, that he is still around here. That they didn't remove him, because essentially it's really weird having a leatherworking trainer in the middle of nowhere here, especially the way professions work now. Oh, we have to kill Sindal and not Bangladesh. Well, let's go and try and kill Sindal then, even though you're all the way up there. And with us going back to Vanilla, obviously we will have more dealings with him. On the condition that we actually pick up leatherworking on some of our character and manage to level it all the way to expert. But it will be nice high-fiving with him again in Vanilla and going like, yo, it's nice to see you again, see that you have a purpose, not just standing around there offering weird leatherworking mats. He might actually offer some rare recipes now, because there are still some vendors like the Gossamer cape that you can only, it's a nice white cape. I probably have it somewhere here, I can show it to you. They can only buy the recipe from one specific vendor, I believe in Dustball of March, and it only spawns every so often. Let's see, it's not this one, because that's no, yeah, no, that's a Grimsteel cape. It's one of these. I know I have it because I used it for one transmog. That's Cloudburst cape. It's just very simple, very white. No, but sort of similar to either of these. But wait, filter me all the collected ones. I mean, it might be because I haven't logged into the character who actually has it, that it has registered as a thing that I have. Let's just do it like this then. Gossamer Cape of the Righteous. It might be called something else, not Gossamer Cape, but it's something. It's like a weird, just regular green cape that is just super white. And it might be this one, the Grimsteel cape, but I'm not sure anymore. But yeah, these type of hidden Easter eggs still exist. Some of them are remnants from older times and just haven't been taken out of the game. And I love that they're still there, and that Blizzard is adding more of this sort of stuff into the game. Legion did that too, but I can't wait for the vanilla servers where all the full glory of all of that design is part of the game, and a big central part to crafting as well. We will just have to bear with the wails of everyone who chooses enchanting and who has to go to Uldaman, or the blacksmiths who need to go to Blackrock Depths every once in a while, or the alchemists who have to go to Skullomans. But that is just one part of the epicness of the game that actually made people go and do stuff like crafting as well. Made people who wanted to do crafting do dungeons. Dungeons were not only about, oh, I want to get a piece of gear. Was, oh, I need to do some crafting. And then the group had to basically also work around the needs of that person who wanted to do crafting. And you talked, which was nice. You could also go in there to do a attunement quest. Or just because you like the dungeon. I mean, one of my favorite memories is when I started WoW. My English at the time wasn't very good, compared to now at least. What I did was I went and read the Wikipedia, the Finnish Wikipedia on WoW, and I was basically like, oh my god, this sounds amazing. And then I found the dungeon list on the Swedish Wikipedia, and I was like, I am going to go through all of these dungeons that I can as an alliance, And basically, Dead Mines was like level 17, 18. I probably went there when I was like level 20-ish. After that, I did every single dungeon that you could as an Alliance person. And in some of them, I basically lived. I just did those dungeons and didn't do any quests, like the entirety of Scarlet Monastery, Zul'Farrak, Sunken Temple. Basically, from when I could enter Scarlet Monastery Library, which was probably something like level 28-ish. Well, I did stock gates quite a lot as well, but let's not count that for simplicity. All the way to level 50-ish. I mean, I did do Tanaris as well, but not that much. Like, after I had to enter Ungoro, I just did dungeons. Only dungeons. Dungeons. A brief break, obviously, in Tanaris to do some of the quests. But I didn't do this at all. I didn't do Stranglethorn Vale at all on my rogue, because I just did dungeons. So I can't wait to see those old dungeons where I've spent so much time in again. And I hope someone makes a equally awesome Wikipedia page just for the dungeons that current WoW has as well, so that I can actually go like, hey, I want to go and see all of these as well, because I haven't seen any of the, like, I've seen a couple of the Warlords of Draenor dungeons, seen some of the basic dungeons in Legion, but nothing else. And I'm starting to get that dungeon and raid itch going on here. So, as I said in previous episode, that is something I'm going to work on in the next expansion, getting on that dungeon and raiding train again, sort of. But our time has run out once again, so as always, you have been awesome, and my name's been SneakyBot. If you did like this episode, do give me a like. If you vehemently disagree or agree with anything I say, just put it down in the comments and let's have a discussion about it. I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.